Amanda, thanks for coming in to join us. We've got Amanda
Course.
Otten from the volleyball team here for the Zig Zone. So Amanda, just talk to me first. How's the off season going for you?
It's going well. We had our first preseason practice with the coaches today. We've been just us as a team for the past, I want to say, month and a half or so. And so we weren't allowed to be with the coaches at all, but today was our first practice. So it went really well. Very competitive as always, and we're really, really excited for season.
The first practice with the coaches is really kind of a big milestone,
Yeah.
with the promotion of former assistant Alex Del Piamo to now be head coach
hmm
at Bowling Green. Talk about how that change feels just, in this preliminary stage.
Yeah, Alex has been my personal setting coach for a while. So me and her have gotten really close, and I think she's been doing a really great job, kind of leading and showing us how consistent she's been, as assistant coach, but now being as head coach. She brought in two really great assistants, Chelsea and Alexa. We love, absolutely adore them, and it's been going really, really well. We're really excited.
It certainly would be silly to, act like that's not a big pair of shoes to fill with the
hmm
departure of a coach like Danielle
hmm
Levinovich,
Of
will
course.
be a BG legend forever. But, how are you noticing things that Coach Del Piombo is doing differently or, the same, or, how is she making those
Hmm.
things work?
Yeah, I feel like it's felt pretty similar. It is our first day back, but we did have them in the spring, and it definitely was a more of a transition kind of time for us. But it's really been us getting in the gym, getting like our competition on and everything. And it's personally, I think it's been really good. And I also think that Alex did have a voice when she was an assistant. And so I feel like she kind of just stepped into that a little bit more, which has been super cool to see.
Absolutely. And you talked about how Coach Del Piombo was previously your setting coach.
hmm
And that was kind of a role, being like a primary setter that you stepped into a lot more last year
hmm
than your freshman year. Talk a little bit about, the difference between those two seasons.
Yeah, for sure. My first season, I was considered a setter right side, so I set and hit for BG. And this past year, I really had more of a role of just being like kind of like the setter of the team. There's definitely some navigation between switching, I guess, positions, but that's kind of what I wanted when I came in. I wanted a place where I could kind of do both and kind of be that player that wherever I'm needed, I can go to. And so I've really enjoyed it being able to kind of do both. And this next upcoming year, like who knows, maybe we'll change it back, maybe we'll stay the same. It's kind of like fun that we were able to play with a few more things than just having two setters that just set.
Do you think it plays to your personal strengths and like ability to help the team more when you're in that setting role or when you're on the outside and having, like a Jane
hmm
Walls, for example, inside doing that?
hmm Yeah, I definitely think that I've grown into the role of being a setter a lot more. I think that my offensive game has grown a lot more being just a setter. Having like my height is definitely an advantage for me, and being able to use that almost not more often, but like in a different way has been super cool for me to see. And I'm still kind of hitting in practice every once in a while. So I definitely think that my game has grown quite a bit over the past year.
Talking about games growing, I want to pivot a little bit just to, some of the rest of the team.
hmm
Obviously it's early in this preseason practice, as you're saying, but
hmm
what kinds of things are you seeing good, things to work on, et
hmm
cetera?
Yeah, I think we have a really great offense. We have a new transfer in, Avery Hobbs. She's been doing a great job, and we've got a few new freshmen pins as well. And everyone's just kind of been like stepping up and being like who they are. And it's really cool to see the diversity that we have. We have so much depth on our team. We have so many different kinds of players, and I think that'll play a really big strength for us. And then our back row has been really, really good. Really gritty defense and everything. I think something that we can work on, that we kind of talked about today is that trust piece and having a new team, having a bunch of new players. Being able to build that trust up again. I think that we've done a great job over the summer of kind of starting that up, but being able to continue that as the season goes on.
And I think that the building the trust is a really interesting dynamic that, some other sports maybe don't have
hmm
as much because it's either more sprout out or whatever. But
hmm
talk to me a little bit, you look at last year's team to this year, losing names such as Alexis Mattil and Mia
hmm
Tyler.
hmm
How do you, and Lindsay LaPinta, how
hmm
do you, work towards filling those roles and what kinds of things were they really great at that you guys are looking to
Yeah.
comprise?
Yeah, all three of them were really, really great leaders. We always knew that they had our back and they were always doing their job. And I think that Our seniors now, Lauren, Jess, Belle. Belle's been doing a really great job leading this summer, as Jess and Lauren are off in Canada playing for Team Canada. Belle really has stepped into the role really, really well. But yeah, I think we have the pieces that we're losing. Like Alexis's offense was insane. Her defense was crazy. Lindsay LaPinta as our libero, we're missing her, but we have a lot of people that are willing to step up, and I think that they will step up. And I think we have really, really high hopes for the team that we can become this season.
On a personal level, you are going into your junior year as
hmm
well, and you attribute names like Bell stepping into leader roles. Do you feel yourself kind of either stepping naturally into or pushed into that role one way or another?
Yeah, I feel it's felt more natural to me, being able to be a leader. I always have wanted and like known that as a setter you kind of have to be a leader, and being able to kind of step up and be the person that my teammates can go to is one of the like things that I want the most, and I want to kind of be that person for my entire team. um, and I think that it's been going well. There's definitely more growth to be done, and we've got a long season ahead of us, but I think it's been going well so far.
The MAC tournament once again at home coming up
hmm
at the end of this season. Does
Yes.
that stick out to you? Does that stick in the back of your mind at
Yeah,
all?
it definitely does. I think that being able to have that home court advantage, us at Stro and the Stro Center, the fans are amazing. The student section has always been so great, and we have some really diehard fans. And being able to be here, like with our community, obviously we have to start in season and start with conference play to get there, but um, we're aiming for that MAC conference tournament title.
And I mean, you look at last year's, attendance. You want to talk about support from fans. I mean,
hmm
unprecedented numbers for the program and amongst MAC programs. I mean, just
Yeah.
how much does the team feed off of that when you're on the court?
We feed off of it so much. We really feel the support of our fans and our students, and even like our coaches and our athletic trainer that are on the sidelines. We are definitely a team that thrives with the high energy, the high support. And I think that being able to use that to our advantage is something that we can still learn a little bit more. As we saw in our Ohio State game, the whole Stro was packed and it was really crazy. But kind of being able to use that to our advantage, I think, will be something that will really help us.
The teams that you've been on in your time at BG,
hmm
have always been very resilient. I mean, Coach Tomich referred to them as, cardiac teams last year, and I can't tell you how many sets I remember going to five, reverse sweeps, etc.
Yeah.
Um, for a team that feeds off of like the support as much as you do, how do you, on the other hand, stay resilient in the face of
hmm
adversity?
Yeah, I definitely think that something we have talked about, we had our first like few meetings this week, yeah, and we talked about doing the hard and wanting to do the hard things and like coming to practice, giving 100% of what we have that day, I think helps us in a game setting, being able to give all we have without needing to either get yelled at or get told something else. I think that starting from the beginning of the conversation of wanting to do hard things, and this is going to be difficult, but we're going to do it together. I think that's something that's going to really help us this year.
Um, and I also think looking at the schedule, you've got the Purdue, Michigan State type opponents
hmm
this year, Ohio State last year as
hmm
well, and even some other power conference opponents in the NIVC tournament last year.
Yep.
Certainly high caliber opponents, and you're going to have to bring your best. Do you feel like that always translates well when you are then facing MAC competition that's always, very competitive,
hmm
but maybe not on that same level?
I definitely think that our season and our preseason is very intentional. The teams that we play are very intentional. We want to play with the best. We want to be the best. And we kind of go at every game the same way. Like we're going to give it our all. We're going to play BGVB. It doesn't matter who's on the other side of the court, but as long as we can be ourselves and be true to like how we know we can play, that's something that we want to have consistency of throughout the season.
Looking at your own, personal volleyball play, many accolades already. I'm not going to, take time listing them all off now. But is there anything in particular you think you want to work more on yourself to give the team the best chance to win?
Yeah, I definitely think something that I've been working on personally over this summer is my offensive game as a setter. Being able to be more as an aggressive setter versus kind of like setting the ball over the net. And then I think my blocking game as well. And just defense in general. Chelsea, one of our new assistant coaches, is an amazing defensive coach, and all of us have seen so much improvement with her. And kind of being able to get that grit out of me and get that fire in me consistently, I think that's something that I personally want to work on this year.
And do you think that's the kind of thing that you come to expect? I mean, you can have different setters of different sizes, and they might have different,
Hmm.
skill sets with soft touch over them as compared to just going for
Hmm.
kind of a conventional kill. Um, do you think that you and, your height abilities tend toward one or another more? Like, is there, a thing that you think you will be at your best if you're able to really maximize?
Yeah, I definitely think more of a attack versus kind of like a set over is something that I want to continue to work on and I have worked on. And being able to kind of use my height. My coaches always talk about using my height and using the reach that I have to kind of power through versus kind of be sneaky, but also having that side as well. Kind of switching it up every once in a while. But we talk about in scouts, we have categories one, two, and three setters, and category one is more of a non-offensive setter, and a category three is basically where they treat them as a hitter. And I want to aim to be that category three setter.
And speaking of ready to go, some players have, been playing during this offseason. You mentioned Lauren and
Hmm.
Jessica playing for Team Canada. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. I know that they weren't not necessarily unsure, but they weren't sure what they were going to do specifically over the summer. But being able to see them continue to play and represent their country and be there with everybody, like they're currently in Mexico playing volleyball, which is super, super cool. And being able to kind of show the diversity of our team and how we do have a lot of internationals and we have people from many different states and showing that like we're a really high level team and we can have people go play for the national teams over the summer and then they'll come in, I want to say next week or the week after, and they're going to be ready to go for us for BG.
And do you think the pedigree and the standard of play that they're engaging in right now is going to, translate back fine and allow them to bring things back as well to
Hmm.
kind of impart to the rest of the team?
I definitely think so. Lauren and Jess have always been great leaders. They've been great players, technically as well. And I do think that that necessarily gives them an advantage, but it also gives us an advantage in the way that they've been playing for their country and they've been playing other places and other teams that they might not necessarily see at the college level. So I definitely think that they're going to be able to bring some things back with them to make our game and their game elevate even more.
Where do your expectations stand for the team for this upcoming season?
Yeah.
Where are you at?
I want to win the MAC. I want to go to the NCAA tournament. I think we can do it. I absolutely believe that we can do it. And coming up short last year, I think fuels that fire even more, especially with people coming back. Um, but it also shows the newcomers that like this is something we are working towards. And this is something that we want to do and we're going to do. And we have that conviction within us that this is what the goal is and this is what we want to do. And we're going to work really hard to give it our best and do it.
In both of your 2 seasons here at BG, the team has competed at a very high level, especially
Hmm.
within the MAC. To me, 2 years ago, it felt a lot like, very close and just came up short. Yesterday, it felt like you guys, or not yesterday, last year,
Hmm.
it felt like the vibe from the team was that, you guys had a lot to prove still,
Hmm.
and it was just kind of unfortunate timing. Do you think that, compounds even more into the motivation? Like, you lose 2 years ago, obviously
Hmm.
you want to win it. Does that just
Hmm.
build even more?
Yeah, I think the loss in the MAC tournament last year really hit us hard, especially it was a five setter. We'd played Western Michigan before and had beat them, and I think it really hit us really hard. And we went to watch the finals, the final game as a team, and just kind of seeing that kind of fueled the fire and showed us that we want to be there next year. Like we are going to be in that finals game next year.
Or do you think that, everybody in the locker room is, on board and, accepting like, hey, we have the potential to do this and this is, what we want to accomplish?
I definitely do think so. And I think that we've been having like team culture meetings as well and showing that the things that we want to do and we want to work on are coming up in those meetings as well. And being able to kind of not necessarily prove ourselves, but prove ourselves and show that we are a really, really great team of a bunch of really, really great girls and kind of, I guess, like not necessarily showing the freshmen and the newcomers we want to do, but like doing it instead of like telling
Mhm.
them like we want to do this, like we're gonna instead of that we're gonna come into practice and we're gonna play like it's MAC championship point. Like every single point and every single thing we do is very intentional and very catered to the goals that we have for this season.
And you talk about things like watching that championship game,
Hmm.
and obviously that's going to be frustrating on some level and motivating on another. How do you channel that into something positive and constructive
Hmm.
rather than letting it, frustrate and, cloud your mind?
Yeah, I definitely think that day Western was a better team than us. They played better than us and they deserved that win. And kind of showing the things that we did struggle with that game, is something we can work on and it's something that we can change, especially when like it's our choice. Like it's our decision to kind of frame the mind in a way of this is how I'm gonna change things for the better versus like getting all down in the dumps and like, we didn't win last year. Like what's the point now? Like no, like we're going in the gym, we're ready, we're hitting it hard and we're gonna do it.
And it feels like, this kind of core group, you and Laura and Jessica, who have now been here for a couple of years and are
Hmm.
still here, these teams have had spells of, going on a really hot streak and sometimes it's a little bit down and then you
Hmm.
get on a hot streak again. Do you feel like you learned equally from both of those, levels of success versus
Hmm.
struggles? Or do you think one is, more helpful to you than the other?
I personally think that you don't learn if you don't fail. If we had played a season and won every single point and every single game, it wouldn't necessarily not be fun, but like we want to get better and we want to show how we can get better and what we can get better at. So I think that the losses give us more than necessarily win. I mean, of course, like the gritty wins, the reverse sweeps are always great. But I think that struggling and failing is something that's necessary, especially in sports. You never know who's going to be on, who's going to be off that day, and kind of coming in with that growth mindset and showing that we are ready to learn and get better.
And, with the team, raring to get better, hungry for the championship after the last year, do you look around the MAC? You've got things, even just, the departure of Logan Case at Western Michigan,
Hmm.
for example. Do you see things around the MAC and think like, man, this is more open? Or, do you notice people you're like, hey, man, we can really beat these guys. I think we're better than this group,
Hmm.
Does that linger in your mind at all?
I mean, I think we're better than every team in the MAC. I think that coming in with the attitude and the conviction that we are BGVB and it truly doesn't matter who we're playing. Of course, we'll scout and we'll see like different things that we want to change for like specific teams that we're going to play. But I think that coming into every game, thinking and knowing that we're going to win, we're going to put all that we have out there is something that is going to be something that we've talked about in the past and kind of being us. And it doesn't matter what anybody else does or says.
What are you most eager for? What are you most looking forward to?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say a game specifically that I'm looking forward to is definitely that MAC tournament at home. I think that's going to be super, super great. But being able to take the steps to be able to get there, I think that's something that I'm really excited to see. And I'm excited to see like the growth of all of our players as well as the growth of us as a team, like collectively.
One of the challenges with your schedule is we're going to see you once,
I know.
and then you guys are going on a very, very long road trip.
Yep.
What's it going to be like to be away from that energy for like almost a month? It's like a good 3 weeks. So what's that going to
Yeah,
be
we are
like?
traveling quite a bit, but I think that sometimes actually when we go to away games, we have more fans than the home team, which is really, really cool to see. We have some really devoted Falcon fans and they support us all the time. And um, we have Steve and Rhonda always makes us cookies before every away bus trip. And having Chris and Di, they come and they always give us treats before we leave on a bus. And just kind of seeing their devotion to us, even if we are leaving, just kind of makes us excited to get back here, of course. But I think that being able to still have the fire that we have on away games is something that can really be channeled this year specifically because we are away quite a bit. But kind of just using that momentum and using the like kind of the know and the trust that we have in our fans. I think that'll help us a little bit.